Greetings again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OSI Today, the podcast featuring news and views from around the Office of Special Investigations. I'm Wayne Amon from OSI Public Affairs, and in this edition, we continue our special series within OSI Today called My OSI Journey, which showcases the diversity and inclusion of our command-wide members. And today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Special Agent Gissell Gilbert, the Superintendent at the OSI Phoenix, Arizona Field Office. Gissell, thank you so much for being with us today. It's great to have you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Didn't mean to startle you there at the beginning, but no, it's great to have you with us. It's great to have you with us. And being out there in Arizona, we were talking off mic before. The weather in the desert, at least on this day, is a little bit on the cloudy side, a little bit on the cool side. You said
it is. Yes, it is. And then next week is be like in the 90s, so
wow.
You don't know what you're gonna get, but
just like a box of chocolates, I guess. Yeah.
There you go.
Very, very good. Now let's get right into it, shall we? Now, Gissell, before you went into OSI, you began your military career actually in the from what your bio says, in the communications career field. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I started off as admin in the comm squadron. Then about 5 years after doing some admin, I moved on to the computer side, confocal point. And then I realized this is probably not, one of my strongest suits. So
you're saying you're not that into you're not into the high tech type of stuff?
I am not. I thought I was. You try to learn because technology is taking over. But yeah. So here I am in OSI doing bigger and better things.
There you go. Upward and outward, as they say. Now,
there you go.
Getting into your days with the Office of Special Investigations, when and how did you become interested in law enforcement and subsequently in OSI?
So I have a funny story. My husband, he is active duty as well, Chief Master Sergeant Andy Gilbert. We were stationed at Yokota in Japan, and he was gym buddies with the special agent and a couple of the agents over at Yokota in Japan. And they recruited him, said, hey, come on over. It's a great team. You'll do well at being an OSI agent. Come on over and talk to us. So with that, do the spouse interview. So I tag along, and then my husband's like, well, I don't think this is the job for me. I want to wear my uniform and my stripes proudly so that I can, take care of my airmen. Right. And then they look at me and they're like, well, what about you? And I'm like, let's do it. So here I am, right? Almost 10 years later as an OSI special agent. And it's been the best decisions, of my career.
What, Gissell, what specifically did they mention to you at that time that kind of convinced you that OSI would be the way for you to go?
A couple things, of course, the investigative portion, we're here to help, maintain the integrity of the Air Force. So that was something I was interested in. And, just being a part of OSI, your passion for getting justice just grows. And I said, you know what, I think I can do this. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy getting to the bottom of things. So let's see how it goes. Then once I got accepted, I'm like, oh crap, now I got to go to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. What did I get myself into? Right. And then, we always doubt ourselves, like, can we do it? And I did it. And I did it well. So it's just kind of a funny story. And I had a couple friends who were OSI agents, and, I heard some of their stories. So with that, and then, my husband's interview, it kind of said, you know what, I think I can. And I think I will enjoy being a part of the OSI team and family.
Wow, very interesting, just to say the least. Now, you mentioned you began obviously at FLETC down at Glencoe, Georgia, to get minted as a special agent. Was that all you expected it to be when you first got into the career field?
It was. So, of course, FLETC, you never know what you're going to get. You try to look up, okay, how do I be a special agent? How do I law enforcement, right? And there's never a right answer. You kind of just have to learn. And, FLETC helped, it's kind of a crawl, walk, run. So as I got into the curriculum, I felt more confident. It's like, oh, do your job. So
Right.
that eased my mind a bit. And then once I graduated from Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, I went on to Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas, and there was an amazing team there. I'm like, these are rock stars. Like, I want to be like them when I grow up. You know, they were running their cases,
Yeah.
doing their interviews and just doing the best they can. And I said, okay, this is something, I can do.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sounds like you were learning by doing. Would that be a pretty fair statement to make?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned by doing, right? That
Very
OJT.
good. You can't go wrong with
training.
OJT, that's for sure. Now,
Absolutely.
Gissell, were there any challenges that you faced once you became a member of OSI? And if there were challenges, how did you overcome them?
So I would say challenges loosely, right? So I'm active duty Air Force. I'm in the military, so that alone is a challenge. I'm African American with a Hispanic descent, so
Uh-huh.
usually I'm the only either African American woman or woman in the room, amongst, let's say, 20, 30 people in a
Yeah.
unit or
Yeah.
flight. So, looking on the leadership walls, I'm like, oh, there's really not many people who look like me out here,
Mm-hmm.
but,
Mm-hmm.
as we grow, as an Air Force and as an organization, I'm realizing that we are focusing more on diversity and inclusion. So that
Right.
cultural challenge, lessens, right?
Oh,
Because
sure. Sure.
now I'm seeing women, doing big things, and it's just great. So it was
Yeah.
kind of a I say culture shock or a cultural challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Just being female in law enforcement and in the military.
Right.
So it was
Now,
kind of a double whammy.
sure. Now we're going to get into D&I a little bit later in our session here. But next up, I wanted to ask you, what or who inspires you to do your best as an OSI special agent? How do you excel, and what drives you to excel, would you say?
Well, what drove me to excel in life and, in the military and in OSI was just wanted to make a name for myself,
Uh-huh.
finding my why, right?
Yeah.
So my family, obviously, they're the number one why. I do this for them. I've had a unique upbringing. I wasn't raised by my parents, so
Ah.
I learned, from my aunts and uncles and my cousins and my grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
different things.
Yeah.
Again, touching on that,
Now, was that
culture
back in
and
Brooklyn? Was
diversity.
that back in Brooklyn, Gissell, where you
It
hail from?
was.
Oh,
It was
okay.
in
Okay.
Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn, New York, Texas, some time in Oklahoma and Florida. So I hopped around a bit. They
Yeah.
say, the word, it takes a village to raise a child. Well,
Uh-huh.
I have a really, really strong village.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, well, it sounds like you mentioned you came from an upbringing of not the typical nuclear family, but it
Right.
seems like you learned how to adapt and overcome within that type of an environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what is the most gratifying part of your job with OSI, or are there more than one thing that are very gratifying, as you progress in your OSI career?
I would say the people, right? I'm a people person. And I always, when I talk to my peers or my family, I say, yeah, my OSI family,
Right.
and where OSI constantly puts you in an environment that, fosters teamwork and trust. We all have to get the mission done as a collective. Like, yeah, you might be the case agent for that case, but
Mm-hmm.
you always have a partner and you'll always have a team, to lean on when, you need backup.
Right.
So
Right.
so
Right.
it's definitely the people of the organization that is really gratifying. I've met some lifelong friends and family
Mm-hmm.
in OSI.
And I would imagine as you progress through the ranks, now you've made superintendent in your current position. That I guess airmen of all ages and backgrounds have kind of, is it safe to say, kind of molded you to where you are today?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You learn, you get bits and pieces for your toolbox from each assignment, from each encounter, from each project.
Uh-huh.
So that definitely molded me into the person I am today.
Right. Now, Gissell, if you could do it all over again, and I realize hindsight is always 2020, as they say, is there anything you would change about your OSI career up to this point, or would you do it exactly the way you've done it?
I would say I would have done it a lot sooner. So I cross-trained into OSI right at about my 10-year mark, right, in my Air Force career.
Right.
So I wish I would have started earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. So and if you were have started earlier, would that have given you a little bit more of a, would you say in your own mind, kind of a head start into what you want to do in OSI?
I think so, yes, because once you progress in ranks, the opportunities kind of dwindle down because they push you to be a leader, and to lead and, be what the Air Force is promoting you to be, right?
Right.
But so yes, it would have
you become more of a leader, more of
opportunities.
a mentor for the younger troops, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think we've anybody who's been in wear the uniform, they've been there and done that. I would imagine.
Right. Exactly.
Now, what direction do you envision OSI going into in the future? Looking at kind of the big picture of OSI now that you've been with the organization for a few years.
So I would say, so our Air Force has, again, going back to diversity, we are now led by great Air Force leaders, such as Chief Master Sergeant Air Force Wright, previously in our current Chief Master Sergeant Air Force Bass, our Chief of Staff, General Brown. I think OSI will follow suit, right? We have our first female command chief. I believe she's the first. Don't quote me on that, but the first that I've seen in almost 10 years of
Chief Byrne Flint.
Yes,
yeah, actually, she's number two. Actually, she is number two.
She is number two.
Yeah, she is number two.
Okay.
And she's going to be retiring soon. A little plug for our command chief there. But you're right. She's been quite a trailblazer, and I think she appears to be a good role model for other females within the organization.
Absolutely. So she's the first female command chief in my OSI career, I guess I should say.
Right.
The ones prior to that were male. So seeing her and, she's rocking it. I enjoy listening to her talk and sharing her experiences. And I'm like, that's where we need to be. We need to have more women, making decisions and leading just in the forefront.
Sure. Now that leads me nicely into my next question about diversity and inclusion. In your view, Gissell, how foundational must it be for OSI to really succeed from this point forward? And in judging by what you've said so far, it seems like D&I is going to be very instrumental in the progression of the command.
Yeah, absolutely. Our different upbringings, our backgrounds, different cultures, we use those experiences to relate to others. I once heard a saying, I'm not sure who it's from, so it's not my saying, but diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. So I always think about that when I think of diversity and inclusion, fostering a team environment. Just to have trust, no matter your background or how you were brought up, all of us as a whole equal, a successful mission. So we need to break down those barriers of, you don't look like me or you didn't come from the same background as I did, because we can learn from each other to, have mission success.
Oh yeah. I guess we all have to be, like a sponge and soak all that good information in to really grow as individuals. So you make a very good point in that regard.
Absolutely. And we liaison and, we deal with our local law enforcement partners, our community members, our base population. So I would say it's definitely a foundation for us as OSI agents to understand, that diversity and inclusion is important to keep the mission going and to be successful.
Yeah, very, very well said, Gissell. Now let's put your recruiting hat on here just for a second for this next question. What advice would you give someone who wants to join OSI? How would you tell them to maybe prepare themselves for a life, maybe as a special agent, and based on your experience and what you've learned and what you've gleaned from coming up through the ranks yourself?
So I would say, OSI being a special agent, it's not always a pleasant day, right? We deal with a lot of folks on their worst day. So I would just say, find your why. Why do you want to do the job that you're doing? Why do you want to be a special agent? Why do you want to be a part of OSI? And I think that why will help. Whatever, everyone has a different why, right? Why'd you join the Air Force? So finding your why will help you get through those difficult parts of the job.
So what was your why?
My why is right now it's my family. And again, going back to, making a name for myself, I wanted to be successful and to show people you can do anything, the sky's the limit. If you put your mind to it, you will succeed.
Very, very good. And it sounds like, you're doing it the right way too. You've met the challenges, you've overcome them, and you're growing as a result of it. So kudos to you, Gissell.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Our guest has been Special Agent Gissell Gilbert, the Superintendent at the OSI Phoenix, Arizona field office. Gissell, thanks again for taking the time to be with us. It was great to talk to you today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And thanks to all of you listening for tuning in. For OSI Today, I'm Wayne Amon saying so long for now.